Yo. Welcome back to another edition of the Men Who Cry podcast. Like, subscribe, review, tell a friend and tell a friend and tell a friend. If you do not do those things, I'm assuming that you injected bleach to get rid of COVID. On today's episode, we will be talking about the pigskin, aka that football, aka the thing they throw around all the time to the people. And I want to get it started like this because, the NBA is a funny sport. Because as much as I love the NBA, there are definitely dead periods at times. And kind of like baseball, I think at this point, everyone's kind of like, all right, getting their ducks in a row to get ready for the playoffs. And I think that's when the season really will start to pick up again. But, I don't want to sit up here and bore you about talking about the Lakers for like the 85th time. So on today's pod, we're actually going to talk about another big market team doing something very, very, or potentially doing something very, very stupid. So the reports came out after Matthew Stafford was given a contract extension by the Rams, that he obviously is no longer on the trade market. The teams like the Raiders and the Giants were the two teams considered interested in Stafford if he were to be moved. Obviously, that didn't happen. And now the reports are that the Giants, at least, are pivoting away to another veteran quarterback in Aaron Rodgers. So, before we even get to the Aaron Rodgers part of this, right? I don't really know how this Giants season is going to go. We haven't entered the draft. We haven't really hit free agency. Some guys have been cut. Debo was just traded to the Commanders. But we really haven't hit free agency yet. We have the free agency is kind of coming up sooner rather than later. And then you'll have the NFL draft in April. I don't really care what else they do from this point on. The Giants are going to be awful next season. Awful. Okay? I don't need to know anything else about what's going to take place. Just from what they've wanted to do this year, it's proven that it's been bad. So, in this season, honestly, I don't even really want to put that much on Brian Daboll, Joe Shane, the coach and the GM respectively. This is on the owner. This is on John Mara. Basically, what they have, John Mara has at least, has put his organization in an impossible position. They are now entering right now, if the season started right now, the fourth best team in that division, right? Maybe they can make some moves here or there. At best, people will consider them to be the third best team in that division. You're in the division that has the Super Bowl champs and the team that went to the NFC Championship game. Both of their quarterbacks are very young. And again, both of these teams are either the champions or making moves to better themselves in order to, eventually make the Super Bowl. If not, just get back to the NFC Championship game next season. And you're there after having an awful season. You now have the third pick in the draft. And your idea is to take the quarterback that got the head coach and GM fired from the same team that plays in your building. Like, I don't know how worse that could appear or look. And I honestly just don't. I get why they're doing this because, it's CYOA. It's cover your own ass, right? It's once you get into that position, you start making just bad moves. You're just on tilt, as the gamblers would say. And having it be in your own backyard is just objectively embarrassing. But it speaks to the level of just cognitive dissonance that the owner and the front office just have about this team. There's no way that this team is going to have the kind of season that I think some people want them to have for Washington, right? Because as good as Cam Ward might appear, and while I personally think he's going to be a good quarterback, Jaden Daniels was considered to be a much better prospect than him, even though he was the second pick in the draft, right? Not even talking about Caleb, who went number one overall. And there's a chance that they might not even be able to draft him because they're the third pick in the draft. We'll see what happens. There's a report right now that the Giants are looking maybe potentially to trade up to get Cam Ward. I personally don't think Cam Ward is the type of player in terms of ability to trade up for. However, beggars can't be choosers. So if you think he's the guy and you think he's good enough to help you win games, you have to trade. You have to pay the price to get someone to do that. Now, to get to the Aaron Rodgers part of it, I don't think bringing in a veteran quarterback is a bad idea, right? If they brought in a Kirk Cousins, Sam Darnold maybe for a year, those guys I think make a lot of sense. Russell Wilson, right? Like those guys would make sense as bridge quarterbacks. Okay, we have a guy. Hopefully we draft someone and then by game 10, or so, we can put in a rookie quarterback. We have momentum going into 2026. That's not what they appear to be doing. Like they're trying to like legitimately win games. And the fact that they really want to try and draft Aaron Rodgers as their like legitimate quarterback is one of the most insane things that I can do, right? I've never seen a team try to crucify themselves at the cross. And ultimately, I don't see a way for this team to actually get better demonstrably, especially at that quarterback position. But it goes back to my point that I said on this podcast weeks and weeks ago. When there is a white, there is a way. Okay? You have two quarterbacks. No matter how you feel about these guys, right? These were the two best quarterbacks prospect-wise in college football this year, right? I don't think anyone legitimately thinks that Jackson Dart or Jalen Milrose or any of these other guys, Quentin Ewers, is better than these two guys, right? How good you think they are is up to your own device. But the actual people who actually do this let you know that these two guys are the best guys out. And the problem with that is they are doing everything they can not to draft one of them. Like everything they can to do this. So when there's, like I said, when there's a white, there's a way. You're just going to do everything you can to not draft either Cam or Shedeur. Me personally, if Cam is there, I think you draft him. I think you should draft him and have it. If he is not there at 3 and you can't trade down, draft the best player available, whoever that is. Give someone like a Sam Darnold a good enough contract to like come to your team and do what it has to do, and then draft the quarterback in round 2, whether it's Jalen Milrose, Jackson Dart, whoever it is, and just let it play out. Because I think Sam Darnold would be good enough to win you 7 games next year, 8. You're in the NFC, you see some teams fall back, move a little bit forward. Like going from 3 wins to 7 isn't this crazy jump, and I think the Giants, while they won't be in position to, contend per se, you could probably make the playoffs at around 8 and 9 or so. And I think honestly, that's, I guess, their expectation going forward. And like allowing you to build out the rest of the roster, build out the rest of the team. Because that's really the problem here, is that it's not just the fact the Giants don't have a quarterback. Their team isn't very good. They have a lot of holes on a lot of different positions, and they're not ready yet to be a team that can either make the playoffs or, try to, advance in the playoffs and get to the Super Bowl. So these are all just very bad decisions that they are all making, and it speaks to the history of the organization. Again, there has only been a black quarterback to play a game in the 100-year history of the New York Football Giants. Again, they have been playing like right around Jim Crow era. Like it was like that's not a joke. Okay. So for them, and boy, are they doing everything they can to stress out their fans. It has been a whirlwind, a very turbulent, just time for them moving forward. But speaking of the actual draft itself, I actually do want to break down the draft just a little bit, not in position groups, but in the idea of what exactly is happening with Travis Hunter. So for those who don't know, Travis Hunter, Heisman Trophy winner, one of the best college football players we've seen. I'm pretty sure every Heisman Trophy winner is in the College Football Hall of Fame, so Obviously not now, but at some point you'd figure that Travis Hunter will also join those guys as being a college football Hall of Famer. And I think generally the fact that he not only won the Heisman, not only was able to legitimately play two positions, he did it for 2 years, in Division I. I know he played at Jackson State prior, but for 2 years in major college football, he played both ways, and I know he was hurt a little bit in his first year, but he played all the games last year or this past season. And I think I understand the idea of teams not wanting him to play both ways, right? It was something that you think about in college. The plays are going to be way more advanced in the NFL, in the schemes, whether or not you're just playing corner or you're just playing wide receiver. It's a lot of information for a guy. And it's just going to, not just to mention how taxing it will be on his actual body. But I think, unfortunately, now we have gotten to a place in sports where it's such a corporate idea that if X doesn't yield Y, we don't want to do it anymore. But by and large part, sports, we just have this as for fun. And I actually think it would be kind of cool just to see, all right, could this guy actually play corner and wide receiver? Now, I don't think you should play him, every play at one position, right? And I think a conversation to have about, is there a diminishing returns if he is essentially just your number 3 wide receiver and your number 3 corner? I don't necessarily think that the impact that you can get from him if he's just the 3 on both sides makes sense. However, you're not going to tell me that having that guy on the field in big moments and big plays wouldn't make any sense. Either or, right? We obviously had Deion Sanders do this for a little bit. Devin Hester didn't really do this because he came in as a corner and then they tried to make him a wide receiver. It just didn't work, But Travis clearly shows that he can play both corner and wide receiver. And while I think that the hits on his body, I think would be a concern for me, especially if you have him primarily as a wide receiver, I do think having him essentially be your corner and then basically say, okay, you're our number 3 wide receiver, I think could make a lot of sense. Because in that way, if you're like, okay, you're just coming in for third downs, or maybe like special plays, we have essentially going to have, if we have 50 offensive plays, 10 of them you're in, and we're going to try to get you the ball in 7 of them, right? I think that's more than enough to have him be an impactful player. And I think I understand this idea of are you getting 2 checks for this? Will be a larger conversation, but I think it's something that we have to overall just be cool with kind of trying, and especially if he wants to do it, obviously he's going to be, anywhere between the 1st to the 3rd pick in the draft. He's not getting past 3, so he's going to be one of the 3 picks in this draft, which means he's going to have some real nice guaranteed money in his life, which would be, it's a lot of money for almost 98% of the world. And him almost breaking this mold of what an athlete could do and actually playing both ways. Because, I would say for most kids, if you went to a small enough school, you had to play both ways. I know for me, at least, we had to play both ways because there just wasn't that many kids. You know what I'm saying? We only had but so many people out there running and jumping and trying to tackle people and catch the football. So it's going to be interesting to see what exactly is the game plan for him to go forward and who exactly is the team to draft him. Because, like I just said, he's going to be in the top 3. So as of right now, if there's no trades, he's going to either Tennessee, Cleveland, or New York. And I think Cleveland would be so interesting. You get another corner. That defense is already really good. And then you get a playmaker from a guy from a team that, while they have Jerry Jeudy, who's their number 1 wide receiver right now, you could have this guy come in and, like I said, just make some plays and be around. I actually think that would be a really good spot if he actually went to Cleveland for him in terms of coaching styles and what exactly makes him a really good player. And again, you don't have to have him be your number one corner. He's already kind of in there sliding into either being your number 2 or your number 3 corner just to start off. But he, for me, is just a fascinating talent of going forward. His teammate, however, I think is a different story. So Shedeur Sanders right now, there's a lot of projections of him going different places. I actually wouldn't be surprised if he slid to the bottom of the first round. Because we've seen this kind of thing before, right? We've seen quarterbacks come in and they think they're going to be first round picks and everyone kind of puts them in this space and whatnot. But the draft's unpredictable, man. And we saw it last year with Will Levis. We saw it with Aaron Rodgers. We saw it with Lamar Jackson. Like, guys will fall. Geno Smith, I remember, went in the second round. And people thought he was a lock top 10 pick. But I think a lot of times we used to look at is in the top 10 or in the top 5, right? Specifically, there's only so many teams that either want a quarterback or think the quarterback's going to be there. So a lot of times when you get to pick 10, 11, 12, maybe those teams might have liked Shedeur or whoever, but maybe they were like, listen, we already kind of put all this time and effort in to get the guy we want. We might have already got our quarterback. We don't really need him anymore. We didn't expect him to be here. We're still going to go for our guy. And you see how people slip so far. I would be shocked if he got past the Steelers because they just need a body at this point. And I don't think that while Mike Tomlin has staved off the he should get fired allegations for a long, long time, him actually getting a quarterback would actually be the most useful for him because I always think drafting quarterbacks, that magic elixir, baby. People give you so much time once you do that one move. But again, he could be the guy in the green room just sweating it out and has no idea where he's going or if he's going to go where he thinks he's going to go. I'm unsure about Shedeur. It's not the fact that I don't like his confidence. I like his bravado. I don't think he should go to a team with either a cold division at all, or he has to play most of his games outside. I think he'll be better for a dome team. And I think that he is a kind of quarterback that while he can make plays, he's hold on to the ball a lot. And he's not that big. And I always worry about guys who take a lot of sacks and who are not these giant, huge athletes. Like, say what you will about Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes, one, doesn't take a lot of sacks. Patrick Mahomes is a thick guy. He's a big dude. Josh Allen's a big dude, Jalen Hurts he's not tall. He's a big, like, stocky guy, That's not Shedeur. And his ability to, and also it's not the fact that he's not that big. He's not that athletic to keep moving and kind of getting guys to get free. Like, those DNs are fast, real fast. And if you don't get the ball away, you're going to get cracked in half out there playing. So I think that he is a guy who can be a good starting quarterback. I don't think he'll be a star per se. And I am curious to see if people will be turned off by his overall bravado. While I still like that, and I think there has to be a level of fuck you need in professional sports, just because you're dealing with the top 1% here. Everyone in the NFL can play. Everyone. Okay? The difference between the guy who rides the bench and the dudes who start, make the $millions of dollars, get the endorsement deals, I've always felt has been a level of discipline, a level of preparation, and a significant amount of just fuck you energy, especially as a quarterback position. Okay? You got to go out there and dice up 11 dudes time after time after time after time who are trying to take your damn head off. Okay? And if you don't go out there, you don't perform, or you don't do those things, you're going to get lost in the shuffle. So I don't think Shedeur will fail. I don't believe that at all. Do I think he'll be like a top 5 quarterback in this league? No. I think he'll be around what Tua is, I think he'll be good. I think in a good system, you can really see him excel. I don't see superstar star status in his future, but again, like, who knows, right? I can't predict the future, right? Like, he could go to the Cowboys and then all of a sudden is the number one quarterback in the league, right? But that's just how I move on from him with that. All right, quick show for you guys today. Thank you guys again so much for listening, enjoying. Make sure you guys, like I said, like, subscribe, review, and do all that good stuff. And I will hit you guys up later this week. Have a little bit of an announcement, but we will talk about that later in the week. All right, everyone. Peace out.